Hey guys, this is a ramble video. This is a rambling video, and I see a lot of YouTube, uh, uh, do these videos every now and then. They just ramble on and be their natural selves, to their viewers. And I think this is my first rambling video. Um, the video that I just did, I was wearing these. I made them myself. Um, I like to crochet. I'm not that artsy with drawing or painting or you know with that stuff, but I do like to crochet from time to time. And when I do, I normally take stuff that I personally um, have. If I have loose objects, I make them and put them in things. So like here, this atheist bracelet piece I bought off of Amazon. It was a bracelet. Um, it came attached with the shittiest. I mean, the shittiest of the shittiest leather bracelet of all time. It broke so bad, so I wore it as a necklace for a while on my gold on my silver chain, and so I realized, oh, a sec, I can make a bracelet out of this. And so that's literally what I did. It took a couple of tries, but I finally made it into a perfect bracelet. Uh, so I do wear this from time to time. I don't wear it all the time because I wear my atheism on my sleeve by talking about my atheism in my YouTube videos. I don't need to advertise the A all the time. I think people are smart enough to figure that out, that I'm an atheist, by the videos I post online about religion. Um, Another thing that I had was, this was part of a cheap peace necklace, the peace symbol itself. So what I did was I decided to make a. First of all, I wanted to make like a bracelet that you would just put on your wrists, and that was it. But then I realized the yarn in the middle, the brown yarn, was a little tight on my wrist, and so I pushed it up and became an arm bracelet, and the seams in the back are falling apart, so I have to really do this over again. But the thing is, I made this into a bracelet as well. I really like doing the art things around uh, there, around these. Like some, I like to do crocheting because it is a relaxing um, thing to do. Um, but I have a lot of hobbies I like to do. I like to do movie reviews. If you are subscribed, my God, I will say it is one I've seen since Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, and Jillian, I believe is her name. She literally blew Alfred Hitchcock out of the water with this movie. I mean, it was really fantastic. Rosamund Pike, who plays Ben Affleck's wife in this movie, she plays one psychotic bitch. I'll tell you that much. But I really enjoyed the movie. I would suggest seeing it. Um, as you guys know from Google Plus page, I am a basic down to earth guy. I love watching older films. I love the older music. I do like reading every now and then. I have to be in the mood for it. I'm not a bookworm per se, but I do like to read every now and then, but I have to be in the mood to read. I can't, if someone just hands me a book and I'm not into read and I'm not into reading that particular thing, I'm not going to be interested in reading. But if someone asks me if I want to read a particular book and I ask them what it's about, and they say, well, it's about this, and blah, bibbity bobbity boo, I'm thinking, yeah. I finished reading about a month ago, or I remember, but I read this book called Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood, and it was really one of the most beautiful sci-fi romantic, and it was also a really fucked up book in parts of the book, but it's really entertaining. I didn't finish reading this book completely yet. I got to start from the beginning again. It's called Stardust. It's by Joseph Cannon, and this is the large print edition. I got this at Ollie's. But what it's about? It's like a old Hollywood murder mystery. It takes place in Hollywood in 1945, before the 50s. So it has like kind of like the old Hollywood touch to. Also, I am very fascinated in old Hollywood. Perfect example. I could tell you off the bat, some of my favorite movies have Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Dean Martin, Humphrey Bogart, Carol Lombard, Lucille Ball, Woody Allen. I love the older stuff because it's funny, it's real. I also like Charlie McCarthy films, even though some of the Charlie McCarthy dolls that are out kind of creepy. But speak about Marilyn Monroe. I love Marilyn Monroe. Bought this at Kmart when I had one here, but this was after Christmas, and this was for $15, and it's one of the this is so 90s though, because it has like one of the domes to it. But yeah, there's a quote by Marilyn Monroe at the bottom of the clock base, which I think everybody should live by. Definitely, Betty White definitely lives by it. The happiest time of my life is now. So basically, live in the moment. So, as you can see, I'm verbal diarrhea in this video because I just want you to know a little more about myself. I'm fascinated in the history of New York. If for the past 2 days you've seen this particular thing on my wrist, it's a charm bracelet. I got it at a health food store, and the reason why I wear it is because I want to start a movement for men and women to show that not everything is gender specific. Charm bracelets aren't just feminine. Men could wear them as well, and not just gay men, straight men as well. Men, don't be afraid to wear mascara on stage if you have to, speak publicly, because it's been proven that a lot of public speakers and a lot of rock entertainers, like trying to remember his name. Ken of his name. The Axl Rose. Axl Rose wore a lot of mascara on his eyes when he first started the band Guns N' Roses, because even in an interview in the early 2000s, he was asked, did he have stage fright? And he said, yeah, he not only had stage fright, but he was the valedictorian for his high school. And he was scared to death public speaking. And public speaking is actually a common fear. I have it myself. But the thing is, I do have a motto: peace, love, and passion. And passion is the other charm I decided to put on my silver chain. It's a compass, and on the back it says "Find your passion." And on the charm bracelet it says "Love," and on the back it's a quote by the Beatles: "All you need is love." And since the Supreme Court ruling in favor of same-sex marriage, I realized you have a lot of these religious zonists who seem to question, or to question people define love. You don't need to define love. Love is a basic human emotion that everybody has. It could be love for a spouse. It could be love for a friend, a family member. It could be love for a dog, a child, a cat. But the thing is, love is love. There's no specific love. There is no different type of love. Now, the only time I would see that you would have to define love is that if NAMBLA became legal, then I think people would have to define love at that point. But the thing is love. There's no specifics. There's no specific definitions of love. And what really makes me confused is when people say sex is love. No. If you are married, if you're a single person who has one night stands, or is even if you're in a relationship, that making love is not love. It's sex. Sex is pretty much pointless. To some people, if you're married, because then some studies have shown men who got married, their top testosterone level lower. I'm not even joking. And but sex is sex. The only time making love makes sense is then if you're married to someone you been in a relationship with for a long time. That's the only time it can be considered making love. But other than that, there's a difference between sex and love making. Sex is just having sex with someone and forgetting about it. Love making is something you remember. You can fantasize about it over and over again because it was so beautiful. There's a complete difference. I know it's the 4th of July. The reason why I do all these videos on this day specifically is because for the past couple of years, I had to say it started in 2013, I really started to care less about the 4th of July because I started to realize that this country is not as great as we advertise ourselves to be. A perfect example. If it took us over 150 fucking years to legalize same-sex marriage, our veterans are still treated like shit when they get home. There's starving children, there's homeless people here, and more than there is around the world. Everybody knows that there's a cure to cancer, except the rich people, because they know us peasants won't pay the million bajillion dollars they want for it. But you know what the thing is? The thing is, in this country, we are not great. We are not the greatest country. We are not one of the greatest countries because when people in America seem to think we're the only country with a freedom or freedoms or rights. That ain't the case. Millions of other countries have rights. Millions of other countries have freedoms. Some countries have no rights and no freedoms at all, but about 250 countries have rights and freedoms. So America isn't the only one. We're not the only country with the right of freedom of speech. We're one of many with freedom of speech. And I just don't see why we advertise. I don't see why we delude ourselves to the whole we're the greatest country in the world when we're really not. We have a lot of imperfections. We're not a perfect country. Although I'm proud to be an American, there are some things about this country that I'm really ashamed of. We apologized for the Japanese internment camps in the 1980s when President Reagan was in office. Fine. But we haven't apologized for the Hiroshima bombing. We haven't apologized for torturing these possible terrorist suspects who were involved in 9/11. It was a small religious extremist group. It wasn't a whole fucking country. And we haven't apologized for invading Iraq and Afghanistan. And people in this country who are so passionate about calling America the greatest country, and they're confused why these countries hate us. You're fucking confused why? We invaded their country when they did jack shit to us. Was Osama bin Laden behind 9/11? No doubt. Where was he hiding, though? Pakistan! Iran! He was hiding in those two places of the Middle East. No, but we can't invade Iran because that's where we get our oil from. We can't invade Pakistan because that's where we also get our oil from. But the point being is, the United States is willing to go to fucking war with countries who don't do jack shit to us, and then the United States acts like they're surprised why these countries hate us. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. And you know what really makes me sick to my stomach? You had Americans in this country who said, yeah, it's a good thing we rectal fed these terrorist suspects. Really? When two of them die from rectal feeding? I'm pretty sure Americans wouldn't talk about how good rectal feeding is unless they've been it through themselves, which they wouldn't have because that's inhumane. Even Ronald Reagan, who was not the greatest president, and no president has ever been great. Let's be honest. No president has ever been great. But even Ronald Reagan said, this is the United States, we don't fucking torture. So America is not the greatest country. It isn't. It is not the greatest country. As much as I'm proud to be an American, there's a lot of things we do in America to ourselves and to other people in other countries that's very shameful of us. This is why I don't celebrate the 4th of July anymore. I'm proud every day, but I don't need one day out of the year to say that I'm proud to be an American. I could say that every fucking day of my life until I'm dead. The only good thing about today is that Yankee Doodle Dandy is on TCM. That's the only good thing about today. That's the only good thing. The reason why I get so heated is because you have politicians, you have gullible Americans who think we're the greatest country in the world. No, we aren't. We're not the world's superheroes. We're not the world's greatest country. We were at one time. We welcomed a lot of diverse people to this country. We had such diversity that people lived amongst each other. Nobody was treated equal, though. Slavery? is a perfect example. It took a long time till we ended slavery. And still, black people are treated horribly by racists. When the Italians came over, the Italians were treated horribly. So were the Irish. So were the French. So were the Polish. So were the people who came from Pakistan, even, were treated horribly. There's Americans, white Americans, who think that there's some white privilege, and I call bullshit on that. There is. I'm not 100% white. I'm 25% Cuban. My skin may be white, but I'm not 100% white. I'm 25% Cuban. I think I'm about 5% Italian. But the thing is, my blood is from Ireland, Italy, Cuba, Scotland, at that, England. But the point being is, you have Americans in this country who want the borders closed, who want the English to be language, the only language to be English. And when they don't understand that America was made on all diversity, not just one, not just two. Oh, wait a minute. And there's also a thing that Americans forgot. We stole this land from the Native Americans. And you have Americans who complain that about illegal aliens. Well, we were the first illegal aliens. We invaded this beautiful land that the Native Americans had. We invaded it, and we threw them off of their land into reservations, and we don't even consider the Native Americans Americans. We call them rednecks. We call them outcasts. And they can't even come within the United States without having a passport. We give them these small reservations where the food resources are low, where the war resources are low, but yet Americans still have their own starving people out on the streets. You still think we're a great country? After hearing all that, after realizing the reality of this country? Bernie Sanders, who I want for president, he said one thing on Bill Maher, which I disagree with, that we're the wealthiest country. Sorry, Jack, you're wrong there. We are one of the most, we're the number one country in this whole world that borrows a lot of money from other countries. We are not the wealthiest country in the world. We are not. We owe China a shitload of money. We owe China a shitload of money. And the owners of America, hear me out. When it gets to the point where they can't afford America's expenses, guess what? We might become the United States of China. So Chinese might be a second language that Americans have to learn. And that's the other thing. Like I said, America is a diversity pot, a pot of rich diversity. And people complain about people who speak Spanish to other people who speak Spanish. Really? You complain about that? So if I had a Portuguese neighbor, I don't, just hypothetically, if I had a Portuguese neighbor, and if, let's just say, his wife and or husband or children or family members were Portuguese as well, and they spoke the Portuguese language to each other, I would have no problem with that. I would have no problem if he spoke Portuguese to his own family because they might feel comfortable talking to each other in their native tongue. I would have no problem with that. You know why? Because English is not just the most complicated language for people to learn. Sometimes speaking in your own native tongue to people who speak your same language, us understand people who come from other countries, and And you see these people who speak in their native tongue, and they're translators. They're translators. They work as national translators. You know why they work as translators? Is because they're also proud of the former country they're from. They're not just proud of America. They love their former country they're from. That's where they were born. That's that a part of them is still a part of that country where they left. As soon as you become an American, you just don't forget where you're from. You know where you're from. You know where your roots are planted. America's roots, I'm sorry, but we stole this land. If you want to look at where most Americans' roots are planted, I'm talking about white Americans. Chances are you're within the UK area. Chances are you're from Scotland. Chances are, oh, wait a minute, we're all African. 1% of our DNA is from Africa. So everybody in the world is African in some type of way. So, like I said, America is not the greatest country. Stop talking about it as it is, like it's the greatest country. It isn't. We're not the only country, like I said, that has the freedom of speech. England has it. Russia has it. South Korea has it. The Middle Eastern countries, unfortunately, don't have it. Russia has it. Germany has it. Belgium has it. Iceland has it. Hawaii has it. Well, they're part of America, but you get the point. We're not the only country with the freedom of speech. We're not the only country with the right to bear arms. See you guys.